Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation as stated on the title slide. The Balco Scandal had to do with performance-enhancing drugs and steroids in professional sports. Before we go any further, I will give a brief summary of what a steroid is and the main character we will be referring to during the entire presentation. A steroid is basically a synthetic version of testosterone. In layman's terms, it is a amplified way to make more protein cells in the body than naturally possible. This aids in athletes to train harder and get results faster. The results are more strength, more endurance, and a leaner physique. However, when taking steroids long term, they can cause damage to sex organs, liver damage, and malfunction of many organs. Now we will be introducing the man. His name is Victor Conte. He built Balco, or Bay Area Laboratory Cooperative, in 1984. He started making a name for himself by helping Olympic athletes in the 1988 Seoul Olympics, directly responsible for their supplement training and blood testing. Due to his regiment training for the 25 athletes he was directly responsible for, they won 15 medals. That put Victor Conte on the map of Balco, being a renowned sports nutrition center that catered to athletes from all over the world. Now getting that out of the way, let's now introduce the actual steroid scandal. In 2000, Conte hired a scientist by the name of Patrick Arnold. Patrick Arnold is this guy on the top left-hand corner. The two worked together to create designer steroids that would help with athletes' performance, but also not get pop positive for a drug test. They eventually produced something called the clear and the cream. The clear was the steroid, while the cream was applied so that it would mask the effects of the anabolic steroid and not raise flags on a drug test. Due to this invention, from 2000 to 2003, Balco saw a considerable spike in clients. However, what goes up must come down. In that same 2003, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency received an anonymous phone call about Conte being the ringmaster of these designer steroids, and this whistleblower even gave samples as proof. After 20 officials from multiple government agencies raided Balco, they discovered human growth hormone and many other types of anabolic steroids. Soon after, 40 athletes were subpoenaed to testify before a federal grand jury. After the results were, the grand jury came back with a 42-count indictment. However, in 2005, Conte agreed to a plea deal. He got 4 months in prison and 4 months confined at home. He was only charged with 2 out of the possible 42 charges against him. After the Balco scandal, Victor Conte went back to his old business of selling legal supplements, and he renamed it Scientific Nutrition for Advanced Conditioning, also known as acronym SNAC. Since this was a black eye for Major League Baseball, the Major League Baseball conducted its own audit on steroids, which took 20 months to complete the investigation into a 409-page report involving 35 players. Due to this report, also known as the Mitchell Report, MLB regulations have gotten stricter, with every penalty getting worse. For example, the first time getting caught, you're suspended for half the season. The second time, full season. The third time, lifetime ban on the sport. In 2004, Congress also passed the Anabolic Steroid Act of 2004, which placed stricter penalties on offending parties, placed even more steroids on the ban list, and also included funding to educate people on steroid use. Also, this affected specifically U.S. track and field. They also adopted a rule that if you get caught once, you will be banned for life. And coming back to that trickle effect, in 2004, during I forget what Olympics it was, I believe it was the Sydney Olympics, many of those athletes had their medals stripped after allegations of doping came to surface, which it also affected Major League Baseball players because they either got banned or they could never get into the Hall of Fame.
Goes, oh my God, my wife is going to kill me. I'm going to have to get a job now.
What he was thinking, Mr.
That's what he was worried about.
Playing a 2-minute clip.
A few days later, this guy, he called me back and said, listen, I had a meeting, one of the elder statesmen at TAC or USA Track and Field passed away, and some of the guys got together and they decided there were 5 positive drug tests. One of them was a 400-meter hurdler, another one was a high jumper, and one of them was a shot putter. He was on the '88 Olympic team. And he said, listen, they've decided that they're going to go ahead and sweep this under the rug, so tell your boy he's off the hook.
Oh, my God.
Well, this is when I learned at the very highest level, all the way to people at the Olympic Games, and I had direct knowledge that they were covering up positive drug tests. And I don't want to say too much about, like television networks that broadcast and on down, and who it is that actually, controls what positive test results come out and which ones don't. And then I learned that other very, very famous track and field athletes at the '88 Olympics, including the most famous sister-in-laws who were on the front cover of Time magazine and so on, had also tested positive, but this had all been covered up. This kind of changed my approach, and I thought, listen, and of course it was a mistake to think this, but my rationale was it's not cheating if everyone's doing it. And if you have knowledge that, I wouldn't say everyone, that's a bad word to use, but let's say the overwhelming majority of elite athletes at the Olympic Games level were using some sort of performance enhancing substances, at least during that year before the actual Olympic Games occurred. And that kind of made me think, well, this is undetectable. It's not, it's not on the list. No.
In terms of the legal issue, it's pretty cut and dry. Conte knew what he was doing was illegal. He even admitted it. He was aware of it, but still did it anyways. It violated the Anabolic Steroids Control Act of the 1990s, and you can read step 1, 2, and 3. Now on to the ethical issue. Even though looking back it was wrong, I'm going to do it from the perspective of at the time. At the time he was caught, at the time he opened Balco, it's the way I like to think of it is like saying, if a tree fell down and no one was there to hear it, did it really fall? In the sense of, even though we knew steroids were illegal, if it was so widely accepted from even at the highest level, then what is really wrong with it? Everyone knew, everyone got access, and didn't really have to really hide it all too much. Even though people want to throw the arguments of fair play, everyone was doing it. If everyone was doing it, and you had access to it, how can you say it's not fair? You were able to get these steroids from anybody and inject them into yourself. So fair play means you don't have the advantage to get it, but you actually could have gotten on the street if you really wanted to. Like I stated before, after looking back, yeah, it was wrong. But during that time, was it really wrong when the system was overwhelmingly ignoring steroid abuse and everyone was doing it? Hard to say. Hard to say back at that time. Now, of course, it's wrong. But back at that time, it's hard to make assumptions. Solutions to remedy the problem if unethical. In this case, I will be basing it off of right after 2014 and beyond. The last step would be to find ethical solutions to remedy the problem. Since after the steroid scandal, there have been many laws enacted to prevent something like this from happening. Also, due to the steroid scandal, there has been a major overhaul of drug testing in professional sports. Steroids nowadays are now painted in an unfavorable light compared to 20 to 30 years ago when Conte started. And that would be the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.